You know, they say you're not a real podcaster until you have your own Funko Pop. Back to me. Back to the Funko Pop. Back to me. Back to the Funko Pop. Happy New Year, everybody. Let's get 2025 started with the Polar Plunge, as always. Something that I learned about the MLB from an unexpected source. Results from round 2 of the college football playoff with our predictions for the semifinals and final clinching scenarios for the NFL, both at the top of the draft and for final playoff positions. Let's get number 134 underway, fully recovered from norovirus and ringing the new year the right way. This is H&P.
Live from central Pennsylvania with your host Ian DiCarlo, this is Hoagies and Pierogis.
The ski stash! The ski stash! Welcome to the Big Ten. Beezer's going drink, man. Let's go!
Okay, since we have an uptick in listeners, I just wanted to mention real quick, just a reminder that I am just a fan trying to make sports news funny. I am in no way a professional analyst or comedian. Just keep that in mind. So Kate Upton taught me something about baseball this week. I saw a clip on Barstool she was on. I don't even know what the podcast is. She was talking about how they only had Mondays and Thursdays off. And in my head, I was like, you dumb bitch. That's not how it fucking works.
It's baseball season. It's summer.
Yeah. Like, this is 8 months. They're doing 163 games. No off day, no consecutive off days. Only Mondays and Thursdays. It's my favorite.
Then I got up, looked at my handy dandy Pirates calendar schedule, and I was shocked. After March, besides one Wednesday in March and the All-Star break, the only days that they had off were Mondays and Thursdays. What the fuck? I had no idea. How did I not know this? It was staring at me the whole year. I have the Pirates schedule up right here on my wall. And there's nothing but, well, okay, there's a Tuesday and a Wednesday in March and April. But other than that, it's just Mondays and Thursdays. I really could not believe that. I was dumbfounded when I looked at the calendar and saw that. Speaking of the Pirates, Paul Skeens is projected by Fangraphs to have the highest WAR among all pitchers in baseball at 5.8 WAR. I think it was at like 4.3 this past year, so that's definitely doable on a full year with a year of experience under his belt. But yeah, off season for baseball, so usually around Christmas, New Year's, it's pretty dead. When I realized that I never mentioned why people shouldn't be freaking out over the margin of victory in round 1 of the college football playoff, because sick brain. I just completely forgot. I even mentioned it in the intro and just never went back and touched on it at all. Alright, so the average margin of victory in the first round was 19.3 points, and everyone was freaking the fuck out. The average margin of victory in the semifinal of all previous 14 playoffs? 17.9 points. When you factor in the national championship in those years, it actually increases to 18.6 points. It was broken already. College football's expanded format has always induced blowouts. And forget college football for a second. Joel Klatt brought up a great point on his podcast. The average margin of victory in the 23 NFL wildcard round was 17.5 points across all 6 games, and home teams went 5-1. Sure, there were a lot of, oofs, but there was no vitriol towards the teams that got blown out from the general public. And no one was questioning if they should be there or not. That's kind of the point of an expanded playoff, to weed out the ones that don't belong in the top 4. And you know what? That's what all this complaining is going to bring, a return to the BCS computer ranking the top 12 teams. And that's it. Let people send all the death threats they want to a computer model. But I think people are so mad because it's branded as handpicked by humans to be the top 12 teams in the country. Would Alabama at Penn State have been a better game? Maybe, but who the hell knows, because Bama got beat 24-3 by Oklahoma on the road in 53-degree weather with barely any wind. And I guarantee you it would have been the other way around if Penn State blew out Alabama. Why didn't SMU get a fair shot? Oh, shut the fuck up. Can we go one fucking year without anyone complaining? My God. All right, with that being said, let's move on to round 2. I'm actually recording this before the games. Let's skip ahead in the future here real quick.
Okay, do we have the right audio this time? Let's go. Here we are 2 days in the future from the rest of the podcast. We are 4-0 this week, 8-0 overall. Let's go. How did we get there? Let's discuss it. All right, first off, Penn State and Boise State. I was at my friend's house for New Year's Eve, so I wasn't paying too close attention to the game, but I at least did watch the first drive, and I was like, oh, well, BSU shanked the field goal, and then, all of a sudden, a huge pass to Tyler Warren. It was going to be a blowout. Aller was so hot in the first quarter, but he did a whole bunch of nothing the rest of the game. Catron and Singleton did the bulk of the work, with Singleton busting off a 58-yard touchdown to essentially ice the game with just under 5 minutes left. PSU held Genty to 104 yards on 30 carries, a measly 3.4 yards per carry. He finishes his season just, I think it was 28 or 29 yards short of the single season record, which sucks for Genty. I'll tell you what, Boise State's defense did have the recipe for an upset, though, in the second half with how much pressure they were creating. I was pretty worried there at first because it was 17-14 for quite a while. It ended up not being too far off the prediction that I had of 34-20. It ended up being 31-14. Boise State outgained Penn State 412 to 387 yards. And they let Maddox Madsen try to beat them. Damn, did he try his best. Without those 3 interceptions, we might be talking about a different result here. But guess what? The turnovers did happen, and we can talk about hypotheticals all day long. But really, it was a sloppy game after the first quarter with so many damn false starts. God damn it. Penn State straight up needs to play better if they want to beat Notre Dame, even with them having one less day of rest now. Penn State, baby. All right, on to the Chick-fil-A Bowl, and easily the best game of the playoffs so far. Texas being sloppy early, and that was basically the story of the game throughout the whole thing. Too many penalties, way too many penalties. But it didn't really matter because I didn't realize Arizona State was 4 for 12 on field goals, 35 or more yards going into this game. How are you that bad? How do you make the playoffs and your field goal unit is that terrible? 4 for 12 on 35 plus? That doesn't even seem real. And then it took Texas 2 plays to score the first touchdown of the game. And then what do you know? Right after Arizona State goes 3 and out, Texas gets a punt return touchdown to go up 14-0 almost immediately. Arizona State couldn't convert 4th and 2 coming out of the first quarter break. So it was looking pretty grim for them at that point. So after the fake punt conversion for Arizona State, this is when we learned about the postponement of the Sugar Bowl by 21 hours. So that did really suck to hear. And I should have probably started this with all well wishes to the victims of the attack in New Orleans. That was a horrible tragedy. It's senseless violence. That was just horrible. Just terrible. Not going to speculate on anything else. But then after Arizona State did all that work after the fake punt, they turned the ball over on downs at the Texas goal line. And there were so many points left on the board for ASU because they were so scared to go for field goals, and I do not blame them at all. It was 17-3 about halfway through the third quarter. But then after that, this is kind of when momentum started to shift a little bit. There was a safety on the very next play after Arizona State turned it over on downs, and then it was 17-8 after Arizona State gets it back and gets the field goal. So then Texas did get another touchdown before they went into the fourth quarter, so it was 24-8 going into the fourth. At that point, Arizona State was driving, and they actually did manage to get into the end zone and get the 2-point conversion. It was 24-16 at that point. And then that was the real momentum changer, I think. And then after an interception from Arizona State, after it was already 24-16, who else throws a touchdown pass besides Cam Scadaboo? Oh my God. After the Scadaboo pass, there was a Texas holding to give them an easier 2-point conversion. And the game was then tied at 24 points. Scadaboo can do everything, even after throwing up on the sidelines. And even I was like, isn't that a symptom of a concussion? Pretty sure he was definitely concussed. But then still, Texas with so many penalties, putting them in and out of field goal range. Texas actually missed the go-ahead field goal wide right. So Arizona State gets the ball back after that. Game still tied. And this is what everyone's talking about afterwards. The no call on the targeting. Yeah, that really seemed like textbook targeting to me. Maybe not. I don't know. College football nerds on Twitter pointed out that the rule actually requires an indicator like leaving your feet, a crouch and thrust, striking or lowering the head to attack with forcible contact. You could probably argue that his head was lowered, but he never really lowered it closer to impact. He kind of kept it at the same level the whole way going into the player. And there was really no adjustment to how hard he was going to hit him going into it. It was just very low to begin with, and it was very, 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 very close to the crown of the helmet. If his head were like 3 inches lower, it probably would have been targeting. So then Arizona State had to punt it away after that. They couldn't convert. And then freaking Burt Auburn got a second chance as time expired in regulation, but overcorrected and doinked it off the left upright. Oh my God. Oh, I was shitting my pants. My prediction was so close. I had it 28-24. If he would have made that field goal, it would have been 27-24. Oh my God. We had overtime. Texas won the coin toss and deferred it. It's what you should do in college overtime. But Arizona State got the touchdown, and they were looking pretty damn good. They only went for one, so it was 31-24 at that point. And at this point in the broadcast, they kept cutting over to Jake Plummer, and they would not stop calling him Jake the Snake. Nobody knows him as Jake the Snake Plummer. Everybody knows him as just Jake Plummer, who played for the Denver Broncos. Everybody knows that. Jake the Snake. No one cares. Stop calling. There was just zero reason to call him Jake the Snake every single time they cut to him. And this is what I'm talking about. Texas, so many damn penalties on 4th and 8. Game on the line. False start. Pushes it to 4th and 13. Zero chance for Texas to win the game, right? Nope. Bomb, immediate touchdown. They decided to blitz everyone on that and left a man one-on-one going towards the end zone. You cannot do that, Arizona State. What the hell was that? And then immediately, we did not even get to see the snap coming out of the commercial break. First play, touchdown, Texas, and they get the 2-point conversion in double overtime to go up 39-31. That was a shocker, and it kept all of my predictions alive. Thank you, Texas, so much for the game-sealing interception to put that one away, 39-31 over Arizona State. And let's see here. I guess we have to talk about the Rose Bowl.
Could you just fill in the blank? We will beat Ohio State if we do.
Be at our best.
What's your best look like?
Competitive, making plays, being good in situational football. Not for the coach talk, but it's just the reality of the situation. But we love the Rose Bowl. We love warm weather. I think we should play more football on nice grass instead of the artificial stuff. And the more sun, the better. Why do we do it to ourselves? Like, do fans want to sit in the snow and the rain? And let's just make arenas. Let's make domes. Let's do grass. Let's do more fireworks at games. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, all right. So, first of all, if you keep winning, you get domes the next 2 games. So
I love that.
Did you know that?
I do, or now I do.
Now you do.
But let's continue that evolution. I think that's important.
I think what I'm really hearing right now is that every football game should be played in Hawaii.
Wouldn't that be unreal? I don't think anyone would be mad at it, But maybe just the travel or the travelers. That's tough. But let's find more sun. Let's find more sun.
Oh my God. While that game was still in overtime, Ohio State already went 75 yards in just over a minute to go up 7-0 on Oregon. I mean, what did I say about this Oregon defense last week? They have not been having good games their past couple games. They were looking pretty suspect early on. This did not just come out of nowhere. Ohio State's defense, on the other hand, was doing a great job at containing everything that Oregon was throwing at them. This one, it was 14-0 pretty fast, but there was no punt return needed in this one. And then after Ohio State gets another field goal to go up 17-0, I don't even know. I didn't write how much time was left. I'm pretty sure this was still in the first quarter. I said Oregon is in desperation mode going forward on 4th and 3 from midfield. They don't get it, and they were in big trouble. They were down in the blink of an eye, 24-0. How do you leave Jeremiah Smith that wide open? What the hell was Oregon doing? They looked clueless out there. And then at this point, it was just sad. Travion Henderson broke away for a 66-yard touchdown down the right sideline. God. I could not believe what I was watching. I had predicted this one to be 38-31, and Ohio State almost got to all 38 points in the first half. It was 38-4 at halftime because Oregon managed to get to the end zone before time expired. But oh my God, it did not matter whatsoever. Oregon got the ball to start the second half, marched their way down the field to make it 34-15. Then Ohio State just scored immediately to make it 41-15. That's when I completely checked out. Oh, but on that opening drive of the second half, it took Oregon over 6 minutes to score that touchdown. So they would have needed to score way, way faster, and they could not do anything else besides just a methodical, just check it down, get some good runs downfield, and it was just a slow, painful day for Oregon. 41-21 ended up being the final score. Ohio State. Michigan was a wake-up call, or they lost that game on purpose. There is no in between. Ohio State definitely got their revenge for earlier in the season. All right, let's move on to the Sugar Bowl. And like I said, well wishes to all the victims that were involved in the crash on New Year's Day. God, I swear, Georgia fans will try to do anything to stop Notre Dame, including plowing through a crowd with a truck and killing 15 of their fans. The game was played at 4 o'clock on Thursday, which was really nice because I'm not recording this at 12 o'clock at night. And oh man, they brought out everything for this one. They had the police SWAT vans, and they had dogs sniffing every single car that was coming through. Imagine going down to the Sugar Bowl and being like, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll just have a nice old, little 10 milligram edible for the game, and all of a sudden you're stopped by dogs going into the parking lot. That would blow. All right, so there were a couple firsts for Georgia here. This is Gunnar Stockton's first start, and I just learned that he's not from one of these big 5A, 6A schools down south. He's from some random AA high school. He was not prepared for this. Well, he actually had a decent game, but it was a little bit too much for him going from AA high school football to the college football playoffs. And then another first for Georgia. This was their first career punt for their punter. What? Oh my God. But Notre Dame decided to fuck up that first punt and run into him not once, but twice. And not different players, but the same guy ran into him twice in the same exact fashion. Just don't run into him. He's bad enough. He had 2 terrible punts. And they definitely got away with that first one. The first one should have been roughing the kicker from what I saw. That was a little bit rough. He ran into that planting leg and stepped on his foot. They got away with that one. And this was really a just huge defensive battle in the first quarter. Notre Dame recovered a fumble by Georgia after they were driving. So Georgia did not come away with a score there, but then Notre Dame didn't either. The scoreless tie was not broken until there were 12 minutes left in the second quarter when Georgia kicked the field goal and went up 3-0. And they actually got pushed back all the way from the 11 to about the 26-yard line because they got a 15-yard penalty for a player on the sidelines, not in pads and in sweats, number 39, Parker Jones, who will never see the field and was put in timeout for tripping the ref in the white. He was in the field of play, and he tripped the ref running down the sideline. The referee crew, I thought, was on Georgia's side, but they actually did a pretty good job. But that official rules guy that the booth kept going to was an SEC fuck. All for Georgia, never for Notre Dame. That was obviously hands to the face on that long Riley Leonard run pretty early on. He was like, Well, no, I don't know. It might be incidental contact when he was all like, well, that should have been roughing the kicker. That should have been roughing the kicker. He was a little bit biased, you could tell. But after that Riley Leonard run, they managed to tie up the game at 3 with 8:20 left in the first half. And I thought this would have been a good storyline for Georgia to run with. Gunnar Stockton is roommates with their tight end, Delp, and I thought that was going to be the storyline that carried them throughout the game. I thought they were going to have a great connection, and they were roommates. And then also, that's Ryan Clark's son playing safety for him. How are Jerome Bettis' son and Ryan Clark's son on the same team? Ryan Clark has to be at least 10 years younger than Jerome Bettis. At least. I do think it's funny that Ryan Clark's son plays safety and Jerome Bettis' son plays running back. But yeah, this was a struggle for both teams. Notre Dame got another field goal with 39 seconds left to go up 6-3. But then this is when the tides turned. First play after Georgia got the ball back, Georgia fumbled, and Notre Dame got the ball at the 13-yard line. And they went down, got the touchdown next play. 13-3 Notre Dame at halftime. Oh, and that panel was freaking out at halftime. Oh my God. The only thing this does is lessens ESPN's credibility. I mean, it will create controversy and some talk, like we're talking about it now, but they will never be taken seriously in any capacity after the college football season ends. And I bet they were shitting their pants right out of halftime. Kick off return to start the second half for Notre Dame. 20-3 right out the gate. This shit was real now. Oh my God. So Georgia got the ball back, and they were actually had a pretty good drive to respond. Made it to the end zone finally on a Cash Jones touchdown. It was 20-10 with about 9:36 to go in the third quarter. After Notre Dame and Georgia traded turnover on downs, Notre Dame got another field goal to go up 23-10. And that was just at the start of the fourth quarter. But that's when it started to feel real. You were like, oh shit, Georgia needs 2 touchdowns to come back. And actually, I'm really glad that Notre Dame got pushed back on that. It was a false start, I think. They were going to go for it on 4th down, but luckily they got a false start. I do think that it was, a hidden gift that they were able to get that field goal and just give them a little bit more confidence going up 13 points instead of possibly only being up by 10 at that point. I would rather Georgia have to get 2 touchdowns than a touchdown and a field goal. Field goal for them was definitely the right choice at that point. But that's also when I thought that Notre Dame was going to start shitting the bed, because on 4th and 13, Kaiser decided to not even play the ball and decided to just tackle Georgia's wide receiver, giving Georgia a first down, and I was shitting my pants at this point. Oh, and around this time, we also learned that they cranked up the heat in the dome so that Notre Dame would get cramps by the end of the game. Georgia's used to this heat. Notre Dame isn't. There was something going on there. All the Notre Dame players were cramping up, and they did mention that it was hot inside the dome. But Georgia, again, turned it over on downs, and there was 9 minutes and 30 seconds left. After Georgia didn't come away with a score there, ooh, I was feeling it. I was checking that TikTok. So after Notre Dame got the ball back, they actually went 3 and out and were about to punt the ball. But instead of punting it, they decided to switch out the punt team for the offense, bring the offense back out on the field. And Kirby, in response, took his punt team off the field, put the defense back on the field. But then that created a little bit of confusion there, and Georgia jumped offsides. It was a free play for Notre Dame, and it was 4th and 1 or 4th and 2. And that was enough to get them the first down. And then it was just clock control to the max, and that is what Notre Dame is great at. They didn't score after that happened, but then Georgia only had under 2 minutes left, just under 2 minutes left to get 2 touchdowns. Man, they obviously could not do it. Georgia's offense looked completely lost out there. Their defense did fine. Their defense really did fine. Without Carson Beck, this was a struggle for Georgia. I think with Carson Beck, this might have been a different story. Much like if Madsen didn't have those 3 interceptions, we might be talking about something different up top. But, oh, man. Notre Dame wins their first big game in a while and move on to the Orange Bowl to play against Penn State. All right, so let's move on to these semifinal predictions. Let's start out with the Orange Bowl, baby. Let's go. Penn State versus Notre Dame. I think Penn State is royally fucked if they play like they did against Boise State. Clean it up. At the very least, Notre Dame was also pretty sloppy penalty-wise, so they might offset each other a little bit. They're going to try to make Riley Leonard beat them, much in the way they isolated the game to Madsen, except Leonard is way more careful with the ball and won't turn it over 3 times. They need to play a perfect game. It helps that Notre Dame's pass rush I don't think they're nearly as dynamic as Boise State's, and Jeremiah Love is also bothered by a knee injury. So we'll monitor that throughout the week. Not having to contain one of the best backs in the country is going to be a huge relief for Penn State. One less day of rest for Notre Dame does benefit Penn State, but I am truly being ripped from my head to my heart on this one. I really don't know who to go with here. You know what, let's not call the first 2 games that Penn State played big games either. They were big favorites and won in the exact fashion that they were expected to. This is going to be a completely different challenge than SMU and Boise State. Now, with that being said, I am going to go with Penn State over Notre Dame, 27-23. Aller needs to be better. Aller needs to control the game after the first quarter, or he at least needs to be more consistent. Georgia and Indiana did not have even close to the same run game that Penn State has, so that is at least in Penn State's favor on this one. I would not be surprised if it goes the other way, though. Absolutely not surprised. And for the Cotton Bowl, we have Texas versus Ohio State. I mean, are we really going to choose against Ohio State at this point? I think it might be stupid to go against them facing this Texas team that can't go 2 consecutive weeks without being the most penalized team that I've ever seen. I mean, the reason it was 4th and 13 on that overtime touchdown and not 4th and 8 was because of a false start when literally all they had to do was not false start. Just don't move before the ball is snapped. How hard can that be? I'm thinking Ohio State wins this one 38-21. So right now, in my eyes, we're staring down the barrel of a PSU-OSU rematch. In order to win the big one, Franklin is going to have to overcome some of his biggest demons in this Ohio State team. But you know what? We'll worry about that later. Right now, the focus is on Notre Dame. I'm going Penn State over Notre Dame and Ohio State over Texas. 4-0 this week, 8-0 overall. Let's see if we can make it 10-0. All right, now back to 2024 on New Year's Eve and the rest of the podcast. And shitty phone audio. I am sorry. I forgot to hit record on Audacity. That is my bad. But it would not be an episode of Hoagies and Pierogis if there weren't one episode where I forgot to hit record on something.
All right, and we're back after predictions. It would be hilarious if Penn State loses and current me does not know it. That's, if the wrong thing happens, that's always funnier. But my demeanor will be so different during when I go over the college football playoff games if Penn State loses. Okay, and I do, like I said last week, I do want to go over the rest of the bowl games, but we're just going to save that until next week. I don't know if there's a break in between the next round. Okay, there is a little break. The next round is on Thursday, January 9th, so we'll be able to put out an episode of just going over those bowl games. And I swear to you, I'll go over Enigma as well. It's actually pretty good. The Aaron Rodgers documentary. And I want to talk about Cam Ward in Colorado so damn bad right now. Okay, let's get into these Christmas Day games. I didn't get the episode out until Wednesday night on Christmas. So these games had already been played, already gone past, but I did not go over them in the last episode. So let's just start out with Chiefs at Steelers, shall we? My buddy was actually at the game, and you could see him when they kicked the first extra point, the start of the end. Actually, they missed that one, so he was going crazy.
Hey, got him.
But it was, I'm just going to, give quick hit thoughts on all of these like I normally do. This went a lot better than the Tyson-Jake Paul fight. But it still, in real time, still looks kind of rough at points. I really don't know how Netflix can't get it right when all these other streaming sites can. Man, I don't know what the hell is up with the Steelers defense. No Pickens did suck for them, and he really didn't get things going until the second half. But I don't know if that was necessarily his fault. But Steelers are going down at a bad time. They're trending downward, kind of like the Eagles were going into the playoffs last year. But holy shit, Santa comes out and gives the Chiefs home field advantage. It was really funny to see Andy Reid dressed as Santa.
For the present, you get home field advantage, my man.
Yes, sir!
So the Chiefs will be sitting their starters next week, unfortunately for the Bengals. The Chiefs beat the Steelers 29-10. People were not happy with the result. The next game wasn't much better for the home team. The Ravens put a beat down on the Texans 31-2. Can you believe this was not a scoregami? 31-2 has happened 2 other times. The last time it happened was 1965. And dude, Lamar is playing backyard football out here. He has to win the MVP. I'm so glad I placed the bet on him at plus 650. I think he's at plus 250 right now. And he's actually going to play next week because the Ravens do have something to play for. Josh Allen is going to be sitting because the Buffalo Bills secured the number 2 spot in the playoffs. But yeah, back to Lamar. That touchdown pass to Likely after he escaped for a 67-yard pass to Andrews was amazing. He actually got a chance on that to do the no-look pass before Josh Allen got to retry it. And during halftime, RG3 was pushing the Lamar MVP narrative, and I love it. And holy shit, can we go over this halftime show for a second? Yeah, it was Beyonce, and I really, who expected it to be bad? But this was as good, if not better, than most Super Bowl halftime shows. It was really good, actually. Post Malone, they brought out Deontay Johnson, too? For Deontay Johnson to go from the Ravens to the Texans to perform in the Beyonce halftime show all in a week is impressive as fuck. Good lord, this Texans team is ass, though. Oh my god. Lamar passed Michael Vick's record for the most rush yards by a quarterback in NFL history. Congratulations. He has 6,110 yards and counting. But hey, Ravens, if you want Lamar to win the MVP, stop sitting him in the fourth quarter. I mean, my god. Keep him in the game and don't let him run the ball in blowouts. It's really that simple. He would definitely be over 4,000 yards passing easily and would probably be over 40 touchdowns. I better not hear any complaints if Allen wins with lower stats in every category except for rushing touchdowns and efficiency. It was funny after the game, they cut into the football cakes. And I was like, bitch, just put down the cake. Nobody wants to eat it. Lamar has a grilling, and do you think Derrick Henry eats cake? Maybe with an ass like that, but I don't think so. So yeah, those Christmas games, not very exciting. The Thursday night game was even worse. Thursday night barn burner. Seahawks beat the Bears 6-3. That was a fucking horrible game. The Bears are garbage. How do you start 4-2 and end up 4-12? It was cold, it was rainy, and nobody wanted to be there. And I know last week I said that if they would have put a game on Friday, it would have been 5 straight days of football. No, it would have been 6 straight days of NFL football. I forgot the Monday night game. So let's go on to Saturday here and start with the most utter disappointment ever. Now, not only are Patriots fans talking about Ladd McConkey, the whole entirety of the NFL is talking about how the Patriots missed out on him. This is like what the Patriots used to do. They used to trade back, swindle teams, and then just be praised by the media. Now they're on the other end of the stick, and it feels horrible. McConkey had 94 yards and 2 touchdowns against him. Let's go over maybe a couple positives for the Patriots. Cole Strange was making his first start at center. And aside from a few early snaps, he looked pretty damn good. He was moving efficiently. As long as he can stay healthy, I think that's his role. I don't want them to get rid of David Andrews, but he's getting up there in age, so they're going to have to anyway eventually. So Cole Strange might be the solution at center. That free play that Drake May had to Pop Douglas for the only touchdown, was very impressive. For him to recognize that and for him to just hawk it down the field and for Pop to catch it too. That was great for him to come all the way over and come back to the ball. He was running straight towards the end zone down the right side, came all the way back over, kind of dove to catch it. And that was all before halftime. It was 20-7 at halftime. May was actually out for a drive because he actually got hit pretty hard in the head. There is zero reason for Drake May to play next week. We'll get into that a little bit more later. But just for the sole reason for him to not get hurt any more than he already has. I don't want a super major concussed QB. I don't want to be telling our quarterback to retire from the NFL like Tua. That would suck. Okay, so let's just fast forward to the end of the game. But in order to fast forward, we need to go back to the start of the game. From Ian Rappaport, barring some type of calamity over the next 2 games, the expectation is Kraft gives Mayo another season to prove him right. The focus will turn to the offensive staff. Is 40-7 not a calamity? Like, he should be fired already. Mayo should be out of the door. It is crazy how fast everyone is... how fast I've turned on him. I think everyone soured on him a lot faster than I did. I've only come around to firing him the last, 4 or 5 weeks of the season. But he needs to go. It's complete ineptitude, and to waste another year of May on his rookie contract would be horrible. I would be so annoyed. I would be so mad. It was raining boos, and the crowd was chanting to fire Mayo at the game. Honestly, I think people need to boycott the team and just not go to the game at all next week. Mayo needs to be fired. Bottom line. This was horrible, and honestly, a worse loss than any loss last season. I really didn't think that could get any worse. I think this might be worse than the 35-0 shutout against the Saints last week in Week 5. I really do. I really think this is worse. I really, honestly, do not know what to think if things don't change against Buffalo. Since if they lose against Buffalo, against the Mitch Trubisky-led Bills, Mayo needs to be fired immediately. He needs to be left. Well, actually, they're at home, so he can't be left in Buffalo, but he needs to go back to Buffalo with the Bills if they lose. They are 3-13 and somehow on pace to be worse by 1 win than last year. All right, let's move on to the second Saturday game. Broncos at the Bengals. Going into the game, the Bengals needed to win out. The Broncos needed to lose out. The Dolphins needed to lose 1 of 2. And the Colts needed to lose 1 of 2 games for the Bengals to make the playoffs. I think they have a good shot. I still think they have a good shot. Depending on how many players sit for Kansas City against the Broncos. I think the Broncos will beat the Chiefs with no Mahomes. Behind Carson Wentz, I think the Broncos will have a field day against Carson Wentz. He might throw like 3 interceptions. But yeah, this turned out to be a great game. Marvin Mims had an awesome game and the best game of his career. 2 touchdowns for him, and the second one coming with 8 seconds left to tie the game to send it to overtime. Holy shit. And I swear to God, no one wanted to win this game, and that would have been horrible for both teams. Both teams needed this win. And I really thought that it was going to be a tie because the Bengals missed the field goal in overtime with 2 minutes and 43 seconds left. And with their 3 timeouts, the Broncos went 3 and out. And the Bengals got the ball back in 23 seconds. So they got the ball back with 2:20 left. And I tell you what, T. Higgins, blank check. Please, him and Ben Johnson, please, fire Mayo, give Ben Johnson and T. Higgins a blank check. Profit. Oh my God. T. Higgins, walk-off touchdown after a ridiculous grab to put them inside the 5. That was all that I needed to see. That was his 3rd touchdown of the game, the walk-off touchdown. Bengals win that one 30-24 in overtime. And I swear to God, every single Rams game I watch is the most boring game ever. I'm not even going to go over this one. Rams beat the Cardinals 13-9 to clinch the division. Okay, Sunday. Josh Allen threw a touchdown to his 13th different player this season that was tied for the NFL record. He's sitting next week, so he doesn't have a chance to throw it to a 14th, if there even is a 14th person that he can throw it to on the team. But yeah, he only finished with 182 yards and 3 touchdowns, 2 passing, 1 rushing. So Lamar has a chance to wrap it up next week with Allen sitting. The MVP race, that is. And like I said, Lamar should get over 4,000 yards passing and over 40 passing touchdowns. Bills crushed the Jets 40-14 to finally lock up the division. I don't know how they didn't have it already. All right, another division clinching win here. Eagles beat the Cowboys 41-7. And listen, if there are any throwbacks that a team should keep, it's the Kelly Greens for the Eagles. All right, Saquon has now become the 9th player in NFL history to break 2,000 yards rushing, and he only needs 101 more yards to break the single season record. And it sucks because if the Packers would have beat the Vikings, the Eagles would have actually had something to play for next week, and they could have been vying for the number 1 seed overall. But since the Vikings won, the number 1 seed and the NFC North will come down to the Vikings versus the Lions next week. But yeah, for now, the Eagles are locked into that 2nd position Oh, this one was rough for the Panthers. 48-14, Buccaneers win this one. Holy shit. What was turned into a good story of Bryce Young turning his career around has become the story of the Panthers' abysmal collapse. What the fuck happened? They were doing so well. Like Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys. The Cowboys game wasn't so great, but 2 good games against 2 better opponents in the Chiefs and the Eagles. They have been blown out the last few weeks, and this week against the Bucs was no different. Baker went 27 for 32 with 359 yards and 5 touchdowns. Absurd. Baker had a great year. All right, Titans-Jaguars. This was the first game of the day that made the top of the draft a little more clear. Jags beat the Titans 20-13. Both were actually coming in at 3-12, so someone had to gain and lose position in this one. The Titans play the Texans next week, who they already beat, but the Texans have like 4 extra days of rest. All right, next one up. The Raiders' plane didn't land in New Orleans until like 1 a.m. Even the football gods wanted them to keep losing for a better playoff position. But they just spat in the playoff. They just spat in the football gods' faces and said, "Nope, we are winning today. We are beating this awful Saints team." And Spencer Rattler is fucking horrible. One of the predictions that I got wrong from the beginning of the season. I think Caleb Williams definitely did a little bit better. In this one, Brock Bowers broke the rookie record for most receptions in a season with 1 game to go. And actually, he's sitting at 108, but Malik Neighbors is right behind him at 104. And speaking of the Giants, they won? I repeat, the Giants won. Holy shit. Holy shit. Holy shit. Let's go. Giants beat the Colts 45-33. Drew Lock had like the 5th or 6th best performance of any quarterback in the StatCast era. What the hell? Oh my god, the Giants cannot do anything right. That means the Patriots now hold the number 1 overall pick. Let's go. That's why I want them to lose to the Bills so bad, and that's why Drake May should fucking sit. Number 1, so he doesn't get concussed again. Number 2, so that they can have a better chance of losing. Please. How are the Colts so bad? They had something to play for. They could have made the playoffs still. I don't know what they were doing. Oh, shit. So not only did that help the Patriots, but that also satisfied another one of the requirements for the Bengals to make the playoffs. In this one, the Dolphins, though, won to keep their playoff hopes alive. The Dolphins still have to win next week and hope for a Denver loss. But if Denver loses and the Dolphins lose, and the Bengals beat the Steelers, which, that's also not a given, then the Bengals will make it in. But if the Dolphins win, the Broncos lose, then the Dolphins are in. But, and we're working it back here, if the Broncos win, they're in. That's it. They control their own destiny. And like I said, they should. But yeah, that Dolphins-Browns game was horrible. 20-3 Dolphins. The starters were Tyler Huntley and Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So, yeah. All right, Packers-Vikings. This was an exciting game, and the Packers almost came all the way back. The Vikings won 27-25. And the Vikings actually, like I said in this one, keep their hopes alive for the number 1 seed in the division. You can tell that Minnesota and Detroit are just a step ahead of Green Bay. Green Bay has been doing well. No more hate for Jordan Love. I didn't like the signing. I didn't like them giving him $55 million to begin the year, but you know what? He's definitely, in my eyes, been worth it this year. All right, Falcons-Commanders. This game actually did turn out to be a great game. Great game against the rookies. But the main thing that people are freaking out over in this one, I don't understand how you can be on an NFL team, on an NFL sideline, and not be able to properly call timeouts. What are you doing with 3 timeouts with under 30 seconds left? Why? Why have 3 timeouts? You're going to run 3 plays max then. Maybe 4. I don't get it. And this should really not be happening every week, but it does. And at the end of regulation too, what the hell is going on? Completely spoiled Penix's comeback bid. They could have, from what I understand, could have been a lot closer than 56 yards on that last try in regulation. Commanders drive down the field in overtime. Jaden Daniels to Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz is actually, I think, like the 9th. He has the 9th most yards in history for a tight end. He actually made $750,000 in overtime on that touchdown catch. Wow, in incentives. Good for him. Holy shit. Commanders win 30-24. Another 30-24 game in overtime this week. All right, you know what? I think this was the matchup that it initially was billed as going into the season. The Lions beat the 49ers 40-34. It wouldn't have mattered if the Lions lost or won this one. But, yeah, what the hell is going on? The Lions keep pulling out trick plays. But have they pulled too much out of the bag in the regular season? Both that lateral and the fake trip would have had way more impact in the playoffs. More so than a random Week 16 or 17 game. But, I mean, if Ben Johnson's got more of them, unload him in the playoffs, baby. Just keep doing it. May as well. Like I said, blank check Ben Johnson, please. So yeah, like I said, next week will be the matchup of the Lions and the Vikings for the NFC North. And I don't think anyone, not a single soul would have guessed it would have taken 15 wins to clinch the NFC North. I think a lot more people, myself included, would have thought that this division would have cannibalized itself, much like the AFC North. It turns out it's the best division in football this year, with the Vikings, the Lions, and the Packers. And the Bears lagging behind a bit, but yeah, great. That was a great game, and I'm really looking forward to next week. Speaking of next week, let's just go over these games, go over the scenarios as we run these games through. You know what? Let's just go into the playoff machine. All right, for the Ravens-Browns, the Ravens have to win to keep that 3rd seed. I think they would want to win, so Lamar is at least going to play one half against the Browns. And he wants his revenge, I am sure. All right, for Steelers-Bengals, like I said, Bengals have to win, but then they also have to have the Dolphins and the Broncos lose, which, I don't think the Broncos are going to lose. Chiefs locked up the number 1 seed. Right now, Falcons can still win the NFC South, but the Buccaneers are playing the Saints, so I don't think that's going to happen. I do think that the Bucs make it in. Patriots-Bills, hopefully the Bills win so that the Patriots can lock up the number 1 seed. We got Colts-Jags. I don't know, maybe the Colts will win for some pride. I don't know. I'm sure Jacksonville isn't really going to try too much. I know they want a better drafting position, because they just beat the Titans. All right, Commanders-Cowboys. I think the Commanders win. And then they would be the 6th seed, I think, right now if they win. Eagles should win. They're locked in the 2nd seed. All right, Packers beat the Bears. So if LA beats Seattle, LA will be the 3rd seed, actually, going up against the Commanders. Damn, the LA went all the way from, what did they start the season out at? 1-3? And now they're going to be 11-6 after they beat the Seahawks, probably? Damn, what an impressive turnaround for them. All right, Dolphins will probably beat the Jets. Broncos over the Chiefs, like I said. Chargers over the Raiders. Let's go 49ers over the Cardinals. And you know what? I'm going to go with Minnesota over the Lions, I think. It's going to be a really good matchup. And, I mean, that was the injury bowl, the 49ers against the Lions. And there were a ton of points put up. I mean, if Minnesota plays their cards right, they could drop 50 on them pretty easily, I think. I think a lot of more potent offenses could put up a lot of points against the Lions right now. Still, with not a lot of people back from IR on defense, I think Detroit loses that game and ends up with the 5th seed and no home playoff game. That would suck. So right now, as I have it here on the playoff machine, we got Kansas City 1, obviously, Buffalo 2. Baltimore 3rd seed, Houston 4th seed. And then that would put the Chargers 5th, Pittsburgh 6th, and Denver 7th. So that would be Denver at Buffalo, Pittsburgh at Baltimore, a 3rd matchup of the year, LA at Houston. And then for the NFC, we got Minnesota 1, Philly 2, the Rams 3, Tampa Bay 4, and then Detroit 5, Washington 6, Green Bay 7. So then that would put Green Bay at Philadelphia, Washington at LA, and then Detroit at Tampa Bay for the first round. This is pretty decent. I like this. I like this a lot. These are, unless some upsets happen, this should be what the playoff picture looks like. And I'll take a little screenshot of it here, just so you have an idea of what I'm looking at. Okay, I think that's it. I did want to do like a really, really quick recap. The only thing, we only missed 1 week in 2024. We were 51 for 52 on the year. That's pretty damn impressive. While we were able to go almost perfect in terms of getting episodes out on time every week, I need to be better at getting clips out on TikTok and Instagram. Big thing, actually 2 weeks ago I didn't put out a clip for 132, and last week for 133 I was like, oh, what the hell am I going to put out? So I put out my predictions for round 2 of the college football playoffs. Well, I guess to go viral on TikTok, all you need to do is choose against Georgia. Oh my god, you should see these comments. Holy shit. Actually, I'll put in a video recording of me going through it. It is just all Georgia fans being like, go dogs, dogs by 14, dogs by 14. And I swear to you that these are all bots, because every single Georgia comment is winning by 2 touchdowns. And they just cannot come up with an original thought. They are that dumb. So yeah, I might be putting out more predictions on TikTok. That was the way to go. I hit a vein there. Alrighty, everybody. I wish you well. I hope everybody had a great 2024, and I hope everybody has a better 2025. Make sure to leave a like and comment on each video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hoagies and Pierogis is available on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram for clips throughout the week. And we'll leave you with this. Munch.
Live from Central Pennsylvania with your host Ian DiCarlo, this is Hoagies and Pierogis.
The ski stash! The ski stash!
Welcome to the Big Ten. Beecher's going drink, man. Let's go.